Hello, class, and welcome to what should be our last, or hopefully the last video that I'm going to make for class, other than an instructional video for the final. Um, this is a continuation video from the topic we covered last week, or began to cover. It's barriers to a healthy adult identity. So we're looking at kind of part two of this, and just to refresh your brain a little bit. We said that teenagers have a new task that they have to do. And it's new because generations of teenagers 500 years ago didn't have to do this. These things were already decided. The primary thing of the task is to answer three questions. Who is the adult me? What do I want to do with my life? And how will I make it happen? So that last question basically says you must plan. You must make reasonable plans to achieve the goals you set for yourself, right? I've been stressing to you that it's absolutely vital that you exit high school having achieved answers to all three of those questions, right? Including having a plan for how you're going to make your adult life happen. Now, we know things change. Your plan is definitely going to change. I don't think anyone, I don't know of anybody who left high school with their plan in their head, and that's exactly what happened their entire life, and they had it all mapped. Life doesn't work like that. So, why is high school such an important deal? If you leave high school, if you leave the structure of high school with no plan whatsoever and no idea, you're going to waste 2 to 10 years of your life figuring it out. And that's what you should do in high school. Figure it out. All right. So what gets in the way? We spoke last time about a number of things that can get in the way of you achieving a healthy adult identity. They can make it more difficult for you to take care of that new task. We're going to continue that discussion now. I think the slide that's up is the one we left off with last time. And yes, it is. It's the one that we left off with last time. So I'll put the whole slide up here. If you remember this last time, we said that this represents a clear danger that best case, if an unwanted pregnancy happens, you're looking at a delay of you achieving your healthy adult identity, a delay of you being able to attack your plan because now you have someone else to take care of. So this is definitely an extremely risky thing, and it's made much more complex by the media lying about this whole topic. I'm going to move on because I could go on and on and on about this, but I'm sure you kind of figured that out. Here we go. Our next barrier to a healthy adult identity is understanding the purpose of school. I think we've all been there. You're in high school and you step into a class that you just hate the class. It's the most god-awful, boring thing in the world. And you sit down and you look over at the clock and it goes tick, 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 right? You swear that time itself slows down when you're in there. At the middle school level, that presents a huge problem. I think it does at the high school level too. But I know at the middle school level, this is where certain individuals tend to engage in screwing around in class instead of applying themselves to the material, right? Why do they screw around? Because they want to have fun. Take a look at what it says there. School is just a boring barrier to doing fun things. Well, some won't accept that. They won't allow school to be the barrier to them doing the fun stuff they want to do, even in class. even right in class. So they will engage in stupid things in class that are off task, and they don't learn what they should have learned in class. And why? Because they don't like it, because it's boring. In my middle school class, all of my classes actually, I gave a lesson at the beginning of the class. And in middle school, I would ask them, get out a sheet of paper, draw a line down the middle of the paper, and on one side we're going to make two different lists. So they're going to write a list on one side, and they should write small because they're probably going to have a lot of things to put on the list. I said, get ready, and they would all get their paper out and something to write with, and etc. And I'd say, now I'm going to put the title of the list up. Don't talk to your neighbor. This is not a group activity. This is you putting down your ideas for what should be on this list. And the title of the list was Why School Sucks. Oh my. The looks on their faces when they see me write that title up on the board, they just about lose their minds. Someone's finally acknowledging that there's elements about school that just suck. How could this be? And what am I doing? I'm inviting them to write down everything they hate about school, every gripe they have, you name it, they write it down. Some of them go crazy. They're writing so much, there's like smoke coming off their pencils. They're practically a fire hazard in my classroom, right? Well, I let them go at it for a while. And they're writing away, and there's some giggling going on and a little bit of chatter, and I ignore that. It's not important. But they all get some writing done. And then I tell everyone, you're going to get 3 seconds to name something, and I'm going around the room, and I'm going to go really fast, and I'm going to write down what everyone says. So we go all the way around the room. I've been doing that lesson for over 20 years, and the list never changes, right? In the last several years, maybe 8, 9 years, the list changed to reflect cell phones. Oh, they're mad that they can't use their cell phones, and they can't have access to their cell phones, and they can't get their phones out, and that pops up all the time now. But the core things that they gripe about: homework, strict, mean teachers. In middle school, they'll say no recess. How come we don't have recess? They'll gripe about, well, good one is they'll say it's boring. School is boring. And they all chatter and agree and giggle a little. I've had a few students who would say it's a waste of time. School is a waste of time. I say, really? That's what you want to add to the list? Yeah, it's a waste of time. And kids laugh. Some kids would say, no, it's not. I said, all right, I'm going to come back to this. Just fair warning to you, right? That list is always about the same. Well, then we would do the second list. And the second list, I would say, here's your title. No, it's not. Why we love school. It's why we need school. That's a very different thing. Why we need school, right? And this is a very short list. Why do we need school to learn? There's certain things you just have to know. And if you don't know them, people will assume you're stupid. Oh, I know, that sounds harsh, but it's the reality. There are certain things you just are expected to know. And if you don't know them, people will think you're stupid, right? As evidence to support that statement, right? I would ask my middle schoolers, how many of you have been, how many of you watch movies with your parents? And, they all put their hands up. And I said, okay, have you ever been watching a movie with your parents and something happens in the movie and your parents all of a sudden just bust up laughing. They're laughing their heads off, and you're just looking at them like, "Ah, stupid, that wasn't even funny." I would tell my students, the joke's on you. You're missing a key piece of knowledge. And it's so key that people write jokes, including that piece of knowledge, knowing that generally speaking, everyone knows this piece of knowledge and you don't know it. Therefore, you didn't get the joke. The joke is on you. Now, you have to wonder, did they not get the joke because they sat in a classroom somewhere thinking, oh, this is boring. I don't care about this. I'm not learning this. I'm going to shoot spitwads at my buddy across the room. There's your barrier to a healthy adult identity. Right there. That's like probably the prime example of it. Teenagers have to recognize the value of education, right? To my students, I would tell them, raise your hand if you've been bored in class. And they would, almost all of them would raise their hand, say they've been bored at one time or another. Maybe you're bored right now. I hope not, but it could be. And my reply to them is, so what? You're bored? So what? That's not an excuse to go into stupid off-task behavior. In fact, if you do engage in stupid off-task behavior, that's really not very adult at all. And think about that. They want to be seen as adult. They want to be seen as mature. They want that. Are they willing to work for it? That's really the question, right? Well, if they engage in this off-task behavior, I gotta pause it. Sorry. Okay. If they engage in this off-task behavior, ultimately it impacts their grades. And there's a domino effect from there. I have had students, seems like every year I've had students who came to me and they had, out of 6 classes, 6 Fs. And I'm talking about middle school. Nothing is all that hard in middle school, right? And they've got 6 Fs. And I'm not talking about students who miss a lot of school. They might have really excellent attendance. And 6 Fs. They've quit. They're there in body, but not in spirit. And it's not a reflection of their intellect or their capability, but it is a reflection of a childish, immature, excuse-driven behavior of, this is boring, so screw it, I'm not doing it. So there's a childlike mentality at work there, right? My goal was always to bust them out of that childlike mentality. So every year I would have students like that. Every year I would work with those students. Was I successful in helping them get their crap together somewhat? No, but not every time, I should say. But I've had many, many successes where the student essentially did get their crap together and they rescued several grades. They dug themselves out of the F hole they put themselves in to begin with, right? And all I did was frame it in a different way so that they could see they're hurting themselves more than anyone else. How does it get to that point, though? It gets there because, well, this goes back many, many videos ago, where we talked about how their brain is ready to take on adult level independent thinking, but then at the same time, what happens to them? They are told, sit down, shut up, and do as you're told, and fill out this damned worksheet. Hopefully, you don't have too many teachers like that. But that's not very motivating for them to actually see the benefit and the joy of learning new things, right? The ease with which some teens can dismiss the relevance of school is a direct threat to the future ability of that teen to be a productive, successful, contributing member of community and society. Once you start hitting bad grades, if you don't get your crap together and snap that out and get it straightened out and start working towards achieving good grades again, you have put yourself tremendously at risk. Your ability to complete high school on time with your classmates starts to disappear, right? If you're stuck having to do makeup credits for high school classes for no other reason than, this sucks, it's boring, I'm not doing this. What a gargantuan waste of time, of everyone's time. So, the purpose of school. I said before, that new task happens during high school. No one in high school acknowledges that is really what's going on in high school. They probably haven't been told that that's what's going on. And I'm talking about teachers. Teachers get very myopic and they only see the impact of their individual coursework on a student, and they want that student to get their coursework done. And very, very often teachers don't see the bigger picture of the whole purpose of high school, and that is to graduate successful, independent, critical thinking adults who are ready to take on the adult world and make their adult life happen because they leave school with a plan. The bureaucracy of school, the redundancy of school, the fact that so many teachers are unable or unwilling to relate the content of their class to purposeful, meaningful examples within life can provide the slippery slope that a number of teens need to just say, screw it, I'm not doing any of this, I don't care. And that's a decision they come to regret. It's a decision they come to regret. We're going to keep going. Maybe. Here we go. All right. Moral development versus anarchy or amoral behavior. This is where teenagers use their view of the hypocrisy of the adult world and society in general as an excuse to engage in stupid, risky things. They reject basic moral values. Let's take a look here. What are morals? A set of beliefs and values that relate to right and wrong. And these are used in decision making. All right. Teens can have a difficult time determining right from wrong when their own values or beliefs seem to be in conflict. And you'll notice the word seem is in italics because they're not really in conflict. It just feels like it. It feels like it because the real deep hard truth of that scenario, that situation, is one where maybe whatever they decide is going to kind of suck for them. There's a concept called expediency. Expediency is making a decision that's just the easiest decision to make. It's the easiest one. Often, though, it's not the right one. But it's easy. That doesn't work. And it can lead to a tremendous number of problems across all sorts of realms. So here we go. Here are some of those values. And I'm going to highlight 4 of them. And there's kind of some correlation to traditional Lakota values. I'm going to have you guys write about traditional Lakota values, and you'll see. But let me cover these. First one, integrity. Choosing to do the right thing even when no one is looking, because it's the right thing to do. You do it because it's the right thing to do, right? In my class, I would ask my students, you're in the grocery store, and there's an older lady. She just finished paying, and she's got her cart full of groceries, and she's pushing the cart outside the door. And as she does, she reaches in her purse to grab her keys, and when she pulls her keys out, a $20 bill drops, and she doesn't see it, and she doesn't know it, and she just keeps on walking. And you're standing right there. Boy, oh boy, the number of kids in my class who would say, "Oh, that's mine. I own that now." Finders keepers. Finders keepers is bogus as hell, by the way. How about doing what's right? Doing what's right. You know, the kid who says they would totally take that $20 bill because that lady doesn't even know she dropped it. She's not going to even realize it, maybe for days, until she goes to her purse for it, right? That person is playing a stupid little game in their head where they are making it okay to do the wrong thing. Well, it's not okay. It's not okay. I change that scenario up a little bit, and I say, now imagine you're with your mom or your grandma, let's say, and you're with your grandma, and she just bought some groceries, and she's heading out the door, and someone you know from school is standing by the door, and as your grandma goes by and reaches in and pulls her keys out, she drops a 20, and you're still in the store, but you see it happen, and you watch that kid from school look around and don't notice you, but then they reach down and grab that 20 and head out. How would you feel? Well, you change the scenario like that, and all of a sudden, now the same kid that said they would take that 20, now they're pissed that someone else would take it from their grandma. That kind of gives you an idea of what the right thing to do is, right? It shouldn't matter whose grandma it is. Is it yours or isn't it? Right? Teens need to really kind of think about and dissect these things because for whatever reason, they have virtually been trained to play these stupid little games and make excuses to do the wrong thing, right? Let's keep going. Honesty. They use it in courtroom dramas on TV all the time, right? Tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do, I promise, right? Well, if you purposely omit part of the truth, you're lying. I would ask my students if one of their friends said, "Hey, let's ditch school, let's head out at lunch. No one's even going to know for like 2 hours that we're gone." because whatever classes after that, they never take attendance. So we could be gone for 2 hours before anyone would even know. Now imagine you tell your friend, "Oh hell no, I can't do that, man. I'll get in so much trouble." Right? But then lunchtime comes around and your friend is gone. And then you go to that next class and by God, there's a sub there. And the sub says, "Hey, I know you're friends with that kid. Do you know where they are?" Oh my. Now you're on the spot, right? Do you know where they are? Well, kids in my class would yell, "No, you don't know where they are." I go, "What do you mean?" "Well, you don't know if they're here or if they're there. You don't know where they are." I said, "But you know they left." And they say, "But that's not the question." Again, stupid little game playing to hide a lie, right? If you're omitting part of the truth, and the truth is, when someone asks that question, the real question, the true question, no matter how it's worded, the true question is, do you know anything about why that student is missing from this class right now? That's the real question. Well, now we've got a problem. Now we maybe have some conflicting values, right? Conflicting value. What's the conflicting value? Well, you don't want to be a liar, but you also don't want to be disloyal. And that might be the next value here. Yeah, it is. Look at that. Loyalty. To be true to the best interests of your friends, family, and greater community. Ah. Snitches get stitches, right? Maybe sometimes. I don't know. I don't know. Or maybe you're just not their friend. I don't know. Kind of depends on the situation. The one that I said earlier about someone skipping class, what if they added, "Hey, I found a whole case of spray paint. We could go huff it." Go huffing spray paint. Goodbye, brain cells, right? Well, if you knew the damage, the brain damage that can happen from engaging in that risky behavior, and you told your friend, "You better not be doing that. You can't be doing that." I know someone who they messed their brain up, and it was permanent because of that. And by the way, I do know some people who messed their brain up, permanently messed their brains up from huffing. Um, so if you knew that, and you knew your friend was going to engage in that behavior, are you a friend if you let them? Maybe you're going to choose, I'm not going to be their friend if they're going to act like that. Um, when the teacher says, "Do you know anything about why that person is gone?" in whatever way they word it, right? Uh, are you going to be true to the best interests of your friends, family, and greater community? Or are you going to let that person you call a friend go out and jack their brain up forever, potentially? Are you going to let them do that? Again, I present the scenario in class to middle school kids, and they've really got to think about it because, damn, you can't be no snitch, right? You can't. Then you're labeled as disloyal. You have violated a basic moral value within your peer group. The problem, though, is your peer group may use that moral value in a way that it's not intended whatsoever, right? So, loyalty. Oh boy. So, the options in front of you might require this: courage. We said integrity is choosing to do the right thing. Courage requires integrity, choosing to do the right thing even when it may require serious personal sacrifice. I would ask my students, what can give me a definition of courage or an example of courage, and someone somewhere they'll always say a soldier on the battlefield. I would say, yes, that's a great example of courage. There are soldiers on the battlefield who were faced with impossible decisions. A grenade lands halfway between them and the other guys in their squad. They're the only one that saw it. The other guys never saw it land. They know if they grab the grenade and go to throw it, it's going to explode right here. If they go to toss it, it's going to explode right there and kill all of them. Everyone dies. And then they also know if they jump on top of it, their body will absorb the energy from that grenade and they will die. But their buddies in that squad will live as a result. Tough choices. I guess they have one more choice. They could try to dive out of the little bomb crater or whatever they were in. And they knew that when they got to the edge, it was going to go off and kill them anyway, along with all their buddies. And there are many accounts of soldiers facing that exact scenario. And they jumped on top of the grenade, sacrificing themselves, the ultimate personal sacrifice. They sacrificed themselves to save their friends, their buddies. In my other example, when the teacher says, do you know anything about where this kid is? And you know that this kid is probably out huffing spray paint. Maybe you need to find the courage to do the right thing. Does it have to be in front of the whole damn class? Hell no. Pull that teacher aside afterwards. Write it in a note. Leave it with the teacher. Right? You have options there. Loyalty does not trump. In fact, I would propose to you that not letting someone know is disloyalty. You're being disloyal to your friend if you don't let anyone know that your friend is about to do something unbelievably stupid and risky, right? I did this in a much more dramatic fashion in class with my middle schoolers. Fun times, right? So there you have it. Four basic core values that are necessary for a healthy adult identity. And they get twisted and turned in just stupid psychological game playing by teenagers because they don't want to do the hard thing. They want to do the quick, easy, fun thing. That's not adult. And they're fooling themselves. They're lying to themselves if they think that that decision does resemble adult behavior. I can do whatever the hell I want. I'll huff paint if I want to. Okay, stupid, right? Getting them to see it and realize it could be a huge challenge. We'll keep going, and we're about done. Here we go. So teens see values as being in conflict with each other. You can't be honest if you're going to be disloyal. Well, maybe not being honest is also not being loyal, right? As I was trying to point out this last slide, the hard truth really is that teenagers very frequently will make up these lame excuses. They lie to themselves. They play these stupid psychological games. in order to justify engaging in risky, stupid, dangerous behavior, right? Why do they do this? Two reasons: to express rebellion or independence, trying to show how adult they are, right? Um, they're gonna make their own damn choice. They'll decide for themselves. You don't get to tell them what to do. This is what they're thinking. Um, might be the best advice in the world from the heavy smoker who's already lost a lung, telling him, don't smoke. Doesn't matter. Screw you. You're a hypocrite. And then that's all the justification they need to engage in the same stupid, risky behavior. So it's either that rebellion or trying to express independence, or it's some kind of peer pressure. They're doing it to gain or maintain friendships or social status. They can't not do it, or they risk losing some kind of friendship or social status. When you're adult, you don't give a damn about number two, right? You also don't have to worry about number one. So when teenagers act out of either of these two reasons, what they're really doing is showing the adult world they're not adult. They're not adult. I worked my tail off to make sure my students understood this concept. Was I going to, squelch any of this kind of behavior? No, of course not. They're all, maybe not all, but lots of them will continue to engage in some of this stuff. My hope is that I got them to listen and to think about it a little bit, and at least understand their own motivation and be real about it. If they can do that, odds are they won't engage in this stupid behavior, right? And they won't give a damn what their friends think about the fact that they won't engage in the stupid behavior. That is an awesome thing, to which I would say, welcome to adulthood. So, as this very last part on this last slide notes, it says as teens get older, they should start seeing their social friendships sort themselves out. You guys know, across high school, even across middle school, going into high school, your friendships change. And you start to realize some are toxic, some you shouldn't be around, and they take you to a place you shouldn't be. And so you get away from them. You get away from those students. Well, those former friends, I should say. When you understand that you need to accept people for who they are, right? And sometimes you accept it and you move away from them because you understand where they're at. You also will begin to see that your friends accept you for who you are. Again, welcome to adulthood, right? This is a very clear mark. I would say at middle school, they are just not there. The vast majority, 99% of middle school students are not there yet. They are hyper concerned and worried about their social status and social situation. Not being accepted is the most horrible, nightmarish thing ever. Kids commit suicide because they feel like they're not accepted socially. When they begin to realize that they are their own person and they don't have to apologize for being who they are, they don't have to try to conform to others. That's where they really can shine as new young adults. All right. Across all these videos and across these notes, this PowerPoint series of PowerPoint presentations. We covered from the way life used to be all the way to the kinds of really deep-seated challenges that face adolescents today. And the core thing that I want you to take away from it is teens today, they're growing up differently. They face different things than even I did. I think it's worse for them. They have more troubles today. I'm going to be firing a question your way, kind of related to that. I just gave my opinion. You know, and some of you have already expressed in your writing that you think, you know, teenagers are definitely more immature than when you were a teenager. And that could very well be true. My thing is, why is that? And I think the reason is staring back at you when you look in the mirror. And I mean collectively, all adults. We create the teens that we have. Okay. We're all done with this session now. Take a look at the writing requirement for it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Actually, all the videos. I hope they came across well. And I would appreciate your feedback on those. I'm going to give you a different way to do that. I do want to get your feedback on what it was like watching the videos. So that's it. We will call it quits. And pay attention to the course room. I'll be doing a ton of grading, and I'll have the very last things will be going into the course room soon, so that you can just focus on diving into the work and getting it all done. Okay, adios. See ya.